energy, the energy coming into our universe, we have an endless, free way of having energy that can bypass the reliability on fossil fuels. It became quite simple when you understand the mechanism that when you put the electrical stress across the atoms of the water molecule, and as you elongate the atom, you're now transferring the electrical stress to the component parts inside the nucleus of the atom. Now in the meeting, it was quite evident in a lot of meetings that were here in the symposium that it always referred to, the requirement was to tap into nuclear energy, you must have high voltage potentials capabilities to do it. And what actually happens is that all these 100 and so particles inside the nucleus, like the meson particles down to the quarks and even the smaller particles, they are all arranged in a geometric configuration and they are spinning on a vertical axis along with the spinning reference to the electrons. As you put electrical stress onto these spinning particles, if you remember the old steam engine where you had these spinning balls and it would regulate the engine, well, the mechanism, naturally, what happens when you split the water molecule, you flex the atom of the water molecule, and as you do it, it will release energy. Now, the way it occurs is that as the electrical stress is applied across these spinning particles inside the nucleus, they slow down. And the native intelligence says, I must have more energy in order to stabilize the atom in stable state of equilibrium, and therefore the energy aperture is open. Now you have the quarks, and the quarks are held together by gluons, right? Now what the hell are gluons? Well, they are energy pathways. That's right. Therefore, energy is coming into the atom, and it's passing through the energy spectrum, and it's now being emitted outside of the atom. And so the triggering mechanism is that if you put electrical stress onto that atom, you can cause that spin to slow down. And the native intelligence says that energy aperture will open and more energy will go into that atom in order to try to stabilize stable state of equilibrium. Now, just as our eyes have the ability to see certain frequencies of energy, doesn't say that there are not other frequencies of energies that are available. Now, we invented the infrared lens and the ultraviolet lenses to detect those frequencies of energy. Have we not? It does not say that there are not other energy sources that are available. Here's an example that Dr. Pappas has shown that the energy being emitted through the nucleus into the outer energy spectrum of the atom is a directional force because the potential energy coming into our third dimension to create our universe as we know it, it has native intelligence to create our mass. It has the abilities to create and sustain our life form, and that energy potential is a one-way, so it's a one-way gate valve. Now we come to the point that as you expose the atoms of the water molecule under electrical stress, you are now starting to oscillate the atom under electrical stress. So unlike Gould and the others, we are now applying electrical stress of opposite polarity across the atoms of the water molecule to cause particle oscillation as an energy generator by way of electrical stress. So now we are causing the hydrogen and oxygen atom to increase in energy, that every time you will pulse it under enormous electrical stress, it adds more energy into the hydrogen and oxygen atom. Once you terminate the electrical stress pulse, it now shuts off the flow of energy into the atoms, and then that energy is now available to be utilized as work. So basically what's happening, the more you will oscillate the combustible gas atoms under electrical stress, more and more and more and more energy is going in to the combustible gas atoms. You now, anywhere along that line, can light the gas and release this enormous amount of energy that's available to us at a zero-point energy, and we now have a way to power our trains, planes, boats, and any other form of device that we have in our economy. We now take it, this is an example that not only we're energy priming it, we can now pluck the electrons to destabilize the mass, open up the energy aperture even further, and now release even more energy. Now, a classic example of this on a thermonuclear device, there's not enough energy in an atom to blow up anything. And you can prove this out very simple by taking an electron and pass it through a resistor, and you'll get X amount of heat. Proton is 1,840 times greater than that of electron, so if I would pass it through the resistor in the opposite polarity attraction force, you'll find out you get 1,840 times more heat out of it. where is there enough energy in an atom to blow and destroy New York City? What actually happens in uranium's 235 and 238s, you have the clustering of the protons, which allows the clustering now of the energy apertures. And then when you blow the atom apart by a neutron bombardment, it actually destroys and rips open this energy aperture in a very violent way. And this is the energy that it really is releasing into our environment under that hostile environment that will blow up the city. What we're actually doing is taking a very natural phenomena that occurs in thermal gas ignition, and we're simply enhancing its control and releasing it to the energy level that we so desire. Now we get to the hydrogen fracturing point of the technology. This is where we take the atoms, the water molecule, we take it in subcritical state, we pluck off their electrons, we add photon energy in it to take it to a very high stable state, and we are now duplicating the muon process that had been very successfully demonstrated in universities in this country, where they would take a muon and trick the hydrogen atom, accept the muon, eject its natural electron. The muon would decay in a millionth of a second. There was a readjustment within the nucleus of the atom and says, oh, I don't have an electron anymore, I must release energy. And so when it tries to stabilize, it flexes and releases this enormous amount of energy coming through our atom structure. Here's where we're taking and causing at least 4 to 5 electrons to come out of the oxygen atom. Normally when an atom has at least 50% of its electrons missing, it acts like a little baby and it blows apart. In this particular case, what we're doing is exposing the hydrogen atom to photon energy. It absorbs it, it causes their electrons to migrate farther away from the nucleus. Its electric attraction force becomes weakened, whereas the oxygen atom is 8 times bigger. And so when you take it on the gas ignition, you have, and as the unlike atoms try to come together to form the water molecule, it has an avalanche effect, mass density occurs, an enormous amount of energy is being released. The projected and energy yield release is anywhere and beyond, up to and beyond 2.5 million barrels of oil per gallon of water. Now we don't need to get to that size because we don't want to destroy the hydrogen and the oxygen process. Okay, we've done all this wonderful research in using water as fuel, but if you can't system engineer it, it doesn't mean anything, right? So you're finding out a lot of talks in the symposium. This has been confirmed now in many, many governmental and university laboratories around the world. This is where we're now taking the water molecule, meter mixing it, and exposing it between 2 high voltage zones of opposite polarity, shut off the current of flow around 40 kilovolts or higher, and we now instantly convert water into thermal explosive energy. Now, this device does not create energy. The only thing we're doing is utilizing the energy that's already there in the atom. It's a triggering process. It's like a thermonuclear process, but this one here is under a control state. As a result of that, we developed what we call a water fuel injector that simply replaces the spark plug or the injector port in your diesel engine or your spark plug in your gasoline engine, or we replace the nozzle injector in a jet engine and literally fly it off of water. Now, in the environmental issue, they always talk about that the fluid inside the air conditioner is causing the destruction of the ozone. That's not what's causing it. When a jet engine is flying in the stratosphere, you'll find out the O3 goes to the engine. It breaks down to O2 and covalently links up to the aviation fuel. It creates the chemical oxides going out that's reducing the sunlight, and we're destroying our ozone. And I will tell you, if we allow this to continue on, you're going to create enormous holes in the ozone, and it's very well possible that our atmosphere will leak in outer space, because the ozone is the only thing that's really covalently or electrovalently linking up to keep our atmosphere in. If it does occur, I will tell you that it's possible that we can become another Mars, totally absence of any form of an atmosphere. Here's where we're now taking the resonant cavity. We're tuning the dielectric value of water, and this acts as a amplifier that we allow the electrical stress to be amplified and compressed, and this allows us to oscillate the water molecule atom farther and farther and farther and farther away from stable state of equilibrium, and then allow this outstretched atoms of the water molecule to be ejected out of the injector, and when they come back, it flexes as an energy generator, releases the spark that ignites the gas, and that's why we now can go ahead and replace the spark plug. The VIC circuit now gives us the ability to do that. The resonant cavities that can do this can take on different shapes. The tapered cavity acts as a compressional wave. The lower one actually has high heat generation, and therefore we can vector the heat and thermal exposure energy of hydrogen to any level that we so desire from 0 to 90 degrees. Heretofore that was not invented in the prior art. Now it became quite a simple system, is where we're now taking the water meter, mixing it into what we call a water fuel cell injector that replaces the spark plug. We meter mix the water, hit it with very high voltage, we put the electrical stress across it, and that energy now is released to run the car. There's an example of the water fuel injectors down in the bottom. There you see it replacing the spark plug on a dune buggy. We're using the latest technology in EEPROM technology and reducing it down to give us our cost effectiveness. The system is now in system upgrade for manufacturing. We're now using what we call a gas processor to take the ambient air, amplify it, and so therefore we're now using the internal combustion engine not to destroy the air, but we're using the process to use the internal combustion engine to now repurify the air and bring it back up to the level that it was prior to the Industrial Revolution. They always ask me about what happens if water freezes in the wintertime. Well, the Lord had me develop a steam resonant technology, whereby which, since the water molecule is bipolar electrically charged, we now put a pulse electrical charge across the atoms of the water molecule. We stretch it, and then we release it, and we're stretching it like a rubber band and release it. It releases energy that heats the water. So therefore, we have a very economical way now to heat your home or heat the water to prevent the water from freezing in the wintertime. This technology has allowed us now to use water to generate electrical power. Now, we had to design the system and full system development in order to get it in compliance. The technology is legalized under the U.S. National Security Energy Act of 1992, which says any alternate fuel source retrofitted to an internal combustion engine must be oxygenated. We use the